3 simple rules this holiday season if you get a cute and cuddly pet like this for your children. Don't ever get it wet. Don't expose it to bright light, especially sunlight. It'll kill it. And whatever you do, absolutely, positively, don't feed it after midnight. Let's get into it. Channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. Today we're going to talk about a Christmas present that goes awry. But before we talk about that present, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. Great, would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about 1984's Gremlins. Now I'm coming at you from my son's bedroom today. He's on track out here in North Carolina. Today was his last day of school for the whole month. So he's upstairs playing Fortnite. So I'm coming to you from a different location, but let's get into this movie. Gremlins dropped on June 8th of 1984. Summertime movie, even though it was a Christmas film, rated PG. It's an hour and 46 minutes long, had a budget of $11 million, and upon release was a huge hit. Surprise hit, it made $153 million. That's why 1990 we got that badass sequel, Gremlins 2, The New Bad. This movie was directed by Joe Dante. Joe Dante had done The Howling in 81, which really put him on the map. He'd done Piranha before that, and another film for Roger Corman. He used to cut trailers for Roger Corman. And then right before he did this film, he did a segment of the 1983 Twilight Zone, the movie. This movie was written by Christopher Columbus. Yes, the man who wrote The Goonies. He would go on to direct Home Alone and other films. But yes, he wrote this film originally as an R-rated creature feature. In the original script, it was much more darker and much more horrific. The Gremlins would actually kill Billy's dog and cut off his mother's head. So there was definitely a lot more of an R-rated bent to this film. They toned that down, obviously, to make it a family film. Although this is a pretty dark family film, but we'll get into that. Now, in this film, we got Zach Galligan as Billy. He's our main lead here. Phoebe Cates is Kate. We have Hoyt Axton, as Randall Peltzer, Billy's dad. We got Corey Feldman as Pete. We got the great Dick Miller as Mr. Futterman. And we got Judge Reinhold as Gerald, who's kind of a douchebag that works at the bank as Billy's superior. And he had 2 big hits this summer because he was in Beverly Hills Cop that came out the same year. That was a huge hit, and he had Gremlins. So Judge Reinhold was on the top of the world at the time. This film starts off in Chinatown, and Billy's dad goes into this shop, and he hears this thing making noise. He's an inventor, and he's trying to sell the gentleman who owns the store some of his inventions to sell. But he hears this thing humming some music, and he asks what it was, and they tell him it's a mogwai, and he wants to buy it for Billy, but the older gentleman who runs the store isn't interested. But his grandson's very interested and tells him to go wait out in the alley and he'll get it for him. And he sells it to him and he takes it home for his son, Billy, who works at the bank to help pay the bills around the house. Because dad being an inventor, money's a little tight. And so Billy helps out any way he can. And he gives him Gizmo. He gives him the 3 rules that he was given in Chinatown before he left with Gizmo. And Billy is enamored with this little pet, cute little dude, and before you know it, he gets wet and he multiplies. But the other mogwais are not like Gizmo. They're a little bit more, especially one who ends up being Stripe, is a little more devious. And pretty soon they trick Billy into feeding him after midnight. Now that's the one rule that's always been goofy. They even kind of poke fun at it in Gremlins 2 because it's technically always after midnight, right? So that rule kind of doesn't make much sense, but what the hell. It's such a fun movie, who gives a shit? And before you know it, they hatch and they start running amok with that awesome scene with the mother killing a bunch in the house before Stripe escapes to the YMCA and makes more gremlins. And as we go, Billy and Kate are trying to stop them. We have them siege Mr. Futterman's house with his front end loader, and Billy tries to blow them all up in the movie theater, which they are successful, but Stripe escapes and they have to go into the department store. Billy fights Stripe off and ends up killing him with the help of Kate and Gizmo. And that is the end of the film. Well, the real end of the film is where the old man shows back up at their house, takes Gizmo back, and Gizmo says goodbye with that "Goodbye, Billy." And then we have that voiceover with Randall Peltzer, and that's the end of Gremlins. What to like about this film? Well, the effects, the Gremlins themselves, all animatronic, all puppetry, and they look great. They even look better in the sequel. But for 1984, these goddamn things look great. Gizmo himself is cute as hell. I have 2 of them, actually, because my wife knows I'm a big fan. I actually have a Gremlin 2 in the other room. I don't have that in this room. Each of those Gremlins themselves cost between $30,000 and $40,000 a piece. So they weren't very cheap to make, but they look so good and are articulate. And considering this was 84, the effects come off really, really well. I mean, there's a few spots where it looks dated. I mean, but Joe Dante used everything in his disposal. I mean, he used matte paintings here, miniatures, a little bit of claymation or stop motion, and then the puppets and animatronics themselves. And he does a really nice job hiding the, really just nice job blending them all together. And this is old school style filmmaking, and I love it. I just love it. It's tangible. It's there. I think Zach Galligan's great as Billy. He just looks like the kid next door, and Phoebe Cates is great as Kate. And Hoyt Axe, the whole cast is great. Dick Miller is obviously a standout. Dick Miller's always great whenever he's on screen. He's no different here. I mean, Dick Miller has a long list of credits to his name. He's been in a ton of films, and he's great here as always. Definitely, the only thing is with kid-wise, this film does get a little dark in spots, especially with Kate's speech about why she hates Christmas. It's dark. The film does take dark turns here and there, but then it lightens it back up. And the Gremlins themselves, while sometimes they do some horrific stuff, they always poke fun at it or they get a little goofy, which kind of keeps it in the family-friendly tone. So that I always appreciate it. But it's definitely a Christmas movie. It's definitely a creature feature. And it's well directed by Joe Dante. The effects come off really well. It's well acted. And it definitely is steeped in the holiday season for sure. Now, you'll notice the sets, the main set of Kingston Falls is Back to the Future. Back to the Future came out in 85. This came out in 84. Same backlot, back out in the Universal backlot out in LA in Hollywood. Already said the original script was more hardcore, more R-rated, and this in Temple of Doom is what spurred the MPAA to come up with the PG-13 rating, because people complained this was a little too much for a PG rating and it was not enough for an R rating. That's why they came up with the PG-13 rating due to this film and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Steven Spielberg was in the wheelchair at the science fair when Billy's dad's in the phone booth and that wheelchair, the guy in the wheelchair goes by. That's actually Steven Spielberg making a cameo. Other than that, I don't think I have any other trivia. I've always enjoyed this film. I watched it on Friday night with my wife in 4K. The 4K that's out there, the transfer is really well done. It's probably the best this film's ever looked on home video. So I appreciate that. I got it on sale a couple months ago for like $10. So it's definitely well worth it if you enjoy this film. It's definitely worth the upgrade because the transfer is phenomenal. At the end of the day, this is a movie I grew up on. I remember watching as a kid. It's a movie I still enjoy revisiting. At the end of the day, I would give Gremlins a 9 out of 10. I've always enjoyed it. 9 out of 10 for the original Gremlins. What are your thoughts on the Gremlins? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe button, share this video. I would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more videos, but until next time, bye.